Voyager 1 is now a starship.
The space probe launched from Central Florida 36 years ago.
I think in this century, we'll probably pick up signals from an extraterrestrial civilization.
It began with a signal, unexpected, cryptic, and deeply unsettling. After decades in the cold silence of interstellar space, Voyager 1, humanity's most distant spacecraft, transmitted data back to Earth that left NASA scientists reeling. For a spacecraft launched in 1977 and now more than 15 billion miles from home, any communication is already a technical marvel. But this wasn't just another ping of location or stream of environmental data from the void. This was something entirely different. Voyager 1 had encountered something, and whatever it was, it defied every expectation. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. The transmission came through the Deep Space Network, encoded in the spacecraft's feeble signal, barely distinguishable from the background radiation of the cosmos. Engineers noticed anomalies, patterns in the data that shouldn't have been there. They weren't errors, at least not in the traditional sense. These weren't the signs of a failing system or corrupted instruments. The data was structured, deliberate, almost intelligent in its formation. It didn't match anything that Voyager 1 had ever sent before in its 47 years of operation. Initially, there was the assumption that it was some form of glitch. Perhaps one of the aging subsystems had finally begun to break down in a new, unanticipated way. Voyager 1's power source, a radioisotope thermoelectric generator, had been degrading for decades. Maybe this was just a side effect of dwindling power, an error in the telemetry. But deeper analysis ruled that out. The signal didn't reflect a failing spacecraft, it reflected something else entirely. The instruments weren't breaking, they were detecting something unprecedented. The most shocking part came from the plasma wave subsystem, an instrument designed to detect electromagnetic plasma waves in the space surrounding Voyager. For years, since the spacecraft crossed the heliopause, the boundary where the sun's influence ends and interstellar space begins, the readings had been steady, predictable. But now, they showed something extraordinary. The plasma waves, which typically appear as faint oscillations, had become erratic, spiking into ranges never recorded before. The frequency and amplitude suggested an immense, unknown energy source. It wasn't just a fluctuation, it was a crescendo, a sharp rise that plateaued and then began to pulse, rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. What could cause such a pattern? The theories began flowing immediately. Some speculated it was a natural interstellar phenomenon, a highly energetic region Voyager had drifted into, perhaps a dense cloud of charged particles, or a hidden magnetic anomaly in the galactic medium. But others weren't so sure. The rhythm was too regular, too consistent. Natural formations in space are usually chaotic, or at least variable. This was something else. It resembled a signal, or perhaps a reaction to the probe's presence. Something out there had noticed Voyager 1. Further complicating matters was a subtle shift in the spacecraft's attitude control data. The gyroscopes on board, though partially degraded, indicated that Voyager 1 had experienced a slight but measurable change in orientation, something akin to a nudge. In space, there is almost nothing to push against unless you encounter resistance or influence from a powerful external force. No known object or force was expected in Voyager's current trajectory. Whatever caused the shift had not been predicted. The possibility arose. Was something interacting with the spacecraft? Even more unsettling was the change in the signal's timing. Normally, Voyager's transmissions maintain a reliable schedule, with a delay of over 22 hours for the round-trip signal to reach Earth and return. But this time, the signal exhibited minor but noticeable time distortions, microsecond delays that suggested something was interfering with its path. It wasn't due to solar interference. The spacecraft had long passed beyond the heliosphere. Nor was it due to any known gravitational sources. Yet the signal wavered as though it were being refracted through something vast and invisible. As scientists delved deeper into the data, another bizarre detail emerged. The magnetometer, designed to detect magnetic fields, showed a sudden, sharp increase in localized magnetic flux. Interstellar space is not entirely empty. It contains weak magnetic fields dispersed throughout the galaxy. But this reading was off the charts compared to anything Voyager had detected since leaving the solar system. The magnetic spike was brief, lasting only a few minutes, but it left behind a lingering disturbance in the onboard instruments. The orientation of the spacecraft appeared subtly affected, as if it had been momentarily caught in a magnetic grip. This wasn't the first time that deep space had hinted at the unknown. The cosmos is filled with mysteries. Fast radio bursts, dark matter, unexplained X-ray sources. But this was the first time humanity had a probe right at the edge of interstellar space experiencing something directly. This was no distant telescope catching a glimpse of the strange. This was an instrument built by human hands, traveling alone through the void, suddenly behaving as though it had brushed up against something entirely outside our understanding. One of the most disconcerting aspects of the data was its repetition. A week after the initial burst, Voyager 1 transmitted a second, nearly identical data set. Same plasma spikes, same magnetic flux, same microsecond timing disruptions. If this were a random cosmic event, the odds of recurrence would be astronomically low. Repetition suggested structure, a cycle, or even intention. Voyager 1 appeared to be in the proximity of something stable, something that operated on a loop or had a detectable pattern of activity. The implications were staggering. For decades, Voyager 1 had represented humanity's first emissary to the stars, a metal envoy carrying the golden record, a greeting to the unknown. Now, as if in reply, the unknown had answered, not in words, but in physics. It had touched the spacecraft in measurable ways. Some researchers began to wonder, was this the edge of a previously undetected region of space? A boundary beyond the heliopause that no one had anticipated? Or was it the beginning of contact with a completely unfamiliar phenomenon, something that might even have intelligence behind it? There was no way to redirect Voyager 1. Its trajectory had long been set, and its fuel reserves for course adjustments had dwindled to practically nothing. It was flying blind through the dark, still gathering data but unable to react. That helplessness weighed heavily on those monitoring the spacecraft. They could only watch and wait as it drifted deeper into this unexplored realm, returning snippets of data that hinted at a greater looming truth. Then came the most unsettling detail of all: a brief, 3-second blackout in the data stream. During this moment, the spacecraft stopped transmitting entirely, not just garbled data, but total silence. When it resumed, everything appeared normal, but the gap had no technical explanation. There were no cosmic rays strong enough to interfere, no solar flares, no system reboot or power loss that could have caused such a pause. The transmission simply stopped, and then started again as though nothing had happened. The idea that Voyager 1 had been momentarily silenced raised 1,000 questions. Could it have been intercepted, redirected, tampered with? What Voyager 1 encountered could not be seen, touched, or directly measured beyond the faint disturbances in its instruments. But something unmistakable had occurred. The spacecraft, long considered a quiet wanderer in the interstellar deep, had stumbled across a presence, or a force, that reacted. Whether it was an exotic form of matter, a natural structure formed on galactic scales, or a sign of something even more enigmatic, the reality was clear. The region beyond our solar system was far from empty. It was dynamic, it was active, and it might not be entirely uninhabited. The absence of visual data made the mystery even more profound. Voyager 1's cameras had been turned off decades ago to conserve power. There were no pictures, no images of what lay beyond the veil of solar influence, only the trembling voice of sensors straining to interpret a place no human had ever seen. Every bit of data had to be translated, interpreted, visualized by earthbound minds trying to reconstruct a picture from invisible fingerprints. There was also the eerie notion that whatever caused the anomalies might not be static. The repetition of the patterns suggested a movement, a cycle, something that Voyager 1 was perhaps orbiting or passing through periodically. If so, this meant that there could be zones in interstellar space that behaved in ways akin to planets orbiting a star, or magnetic fields circling a core. But what could be at the center of such a formation in the middle of deep space? And why did it react now, after all these years of silent travel? Speculation spread across the scientific community. Was it a remnant of a long-dead civilization? Some kind of forgotten interstellar infrastructure still emitting energy? or a naturally occurring formation that had simply never been detected before because no instrument had ever traveled so far. Others dared to ask more radical questions. Was Voyager 1 being watched? Was its transmission being examined in turn? Had it triggered a response simply by being present, like a match lighting the air in a pitch-black room? With each transmission, the feeling grew more intense. This was no longer just a matter of scientific curiosity. It was the first real physical clue that the great void beyond the stars held secrets far stranger than ever imagined. Voyager 1 had pierced a veil, not only of distance but of perception. It had revealed that space itself might be watching back. No one could say for sure what would happen next. Voyager 1 would continue transmitting until its power failed completely, which could still be years away. But the data it had already sent had changed everything. It had cracked open the door to a frontier even more mysterious than the solar system it left behind. It was a message, not in words but in echoes, in ripples of plasma and magnetic waveforms that spoke of a larger, stranger architecture of the universe. Even in its silence, Voyager 1 had made its presence known. It had touched something out there, and something had touched back. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on Voyager 1's terrifying data? What do you expect? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.